Okay, quick and dirty tips and tutorial on installing the Radiolink Express LRS module and connecting and binding to the receiver and setting up some of the parameters on both. So let's take a look at the back of the transmitter first. All right, so the Express LRS module just slides into its holder in the back, and then you pull it down and click it in to secure the module to the transmitter. And then if we take a look at the receiver itself, when it comes naked. You know, it's got the antennas attached to it, but it doesn't have the wires attached. It comes with three different prefabricated connectors for different types of flight controllers. I'm going to be connecting mine to a Radiolink BIME Gyro. I'm going to be installing it on the Radiolink A560 3D sport plane is what I'm going to be testing it out on. So it came with this set of four wires. One end of the wires is pre-tinned, and then the other end of the wires are just cut across. You know, they're just blunt on the ends. So I soldered the wires up to the transmitter, and you'll see that on the pads here, there's four pads for the four wires. You've got your ground, you've got your volt, you've got your transmitter pad, and you've got your receiver pad. So your signal wire will connect to the transmitter pad, and then this green wire will connect to the receiver pad, and that is for telemetry on a flight controller that supports telemetry. Okay, I'm not going to be using that for the BIME Gyro. I'm just using the ground, the hot, and the signal wires as normal. I just put a single servo connector shield, pin and shield on that one wire, so it's separate from the primary servo connector. So I just crimped servo pins to it and put a servo shroud on it to patch it right up to the BIME Gyro. All right, so on the back of this Express LRS receiver, there's a little black button right behind one of the antennas here. All right, so my suggestion would be the first thing that you want to do, because the Express LRS receiver creates its own wireless access point. And so you have a configurator that you can connect to from your laptop or your phone or whatever, you know, anything that can connect to a Wi-Fi access point. You'll be able to access the configuration page for the receiver. So the way that you do that, prior to binding, you know, while the receiver is powered up, but while it's not bound to the transmitter, you want to depress that black button on the back side of the receiver and hold it down for 7 seconds. Once you hold it down for 7 seconds, you'll get a fast flashing blue light that lets you know that the wireless access point is activated, and then you can connect to it. It will come up, the ID for the access point will be listed as Express LRS RX. The first time you connect to it, you're going to have to input the password, and the password is Express LRS, all lowercase. Let's go ahead and show the video of activating the Wi-Fi mode for Wi-Fi access point for this receiver. Okay, so I'm holding in this button, this little black button. All right, and now you can see there's a fast flashing blue light. All right, so if I go into my Wi-Fi list here, you'll see Express LRS RX. That's what we want to connect to. All right, so now it's showing that I'm connected to it. Just bring up your web browser, and then you want to navigate to HTTP 10.0.0.1. And you can see the Express LRS configuration page coming up. All right, so this is basically giving you all the information I just spoke about, when it comes up, the ID, the passphrase. You can change the binding passphrase on the receiver if you want to. I just left that as default. The Wi-Fi auto, if it sets there for 60 seconds without being bound up, it will automatically go into Wi-Fi mode. You can reset everything to the defaults here. You can save anything that you change. If we look at the Wi-Fi, you can have it connect to your home network. I just would rather have it set up its own AP every time that I put it into that mode. You can change the SSID. You can change the passphrase if you want to. Okay, so we go into the model. Now, this is what I was interested in because I'm going to be connecting it to a BIME Gyro. I wanted to make sure that it was in SBUS mode. You can see you've got several modes, and this is why I say you want to take a look at the configuration on the receiver before you bind up to it. For failsafe, I want no pulses. If you want to have model match on your transmitter, you can set it up here and then set up a receiver ID in your transmitter so that you can't accidentally bind up to it, with a different plane. You can save your changes here, which I've just done. And then update. If you've got a firmware file, you can update the firmware on the receiver from this page, and then just select update. I don't currently have an updated firmware, but it's always a good idea to download and save the current firmware. So I'm going to save the current firmware that's on it. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's take a look at the transmitter, because now I'm going to save everything, just to make sure anything that's changed in those pages is uploaded to it, and then it will reboot the receiver. All right, now let's take a look at the transmitter. Activating the Express LRS module. We want to set it for external, not internal. Go into the receiver settings, the RF settings. Here you have either internal or external. We want external. Express LRS or Crossfire version 2, we want Express LRS. We go into parameters now. Okay, you can see there's a dashed line up here, which means we're not currently connected to the receiver. So I'm powering up the receiver right now. I've already bound up to it once. All right, so now we have this C here. You can see that we're actually connected to it. You can set up your packet rate all the way up to, I think, 1,000. Telemetry ratio, switch mode, model match if you want to set your ID, transmitter power if you have a VTX that you can connect to. Here's where you would select bind. Okay, so since I wasn't connected to it the first time, this other devices line did not show up. Okay, so once you bring up this page after you're connected to it, you will see that. I'm selecting my receiver from that list to make sure it's set up for SBUS. Fail-safe mode says last position. I want to change that. And it's cycling. I'm cycling through all the options there again. And we want SBUS. And then instead of last position, I want no pulse. All right. I've got the telemetry power, I think is what that is, set at 100 milliwatt. I've got the initial rate set at 100 hertz. And you can also change that, change it to 50. You can change that to whatever you need. All right, now I'm going to exit out of this screen. You can see that I've got signal up here. Failsafe, there's my failsafe settings for the model. Sensors. All right, I've got my mode switch set up on channel 5, so Let's take a look now at the video where I've got everything bound up and connected and make sure everything's working. Alright, so I've got it in fully stabilized mode. I'm going to move the aileron and the elevator servos with the sticks, and then I'm going to check it by moving the bind gyro around. Okay, so I got servo movement, gyro mode, wind mitigation mode, and that's working, and then full manual mode, and no output from the gyro. All three modes are working just fine. Back to fully stabilized mode. Yeah, so everything's working with the BIMA gyro, no problem. Let's make sure our motor spins up. And there we go. So everything is working properly with the module and the receiver. So the way that you have to get this into bind mode is to apply power, apply power, and remove power 3 times. And it took me 3 or 4 attempts at doing that before I could finally get into bind mode. When it's in bind mode, you'll get 2 quick flashing lights and then a pause, and then 2 quick flashing lights and then a pause again. But anyway, there's a link to Express LRS website in the show notes. That's where I found most of the information for this. It's a lot of great information if you're new like me to Express LRS. This is the first one that I've set up. There's also a link in there to the video tutorials that Radiolink has posted on their website, and one of them is related to this Express LRS module and receiver, so you might want to take a look at that too. Anyway, I hope that this helps someone who's new to Express LRS like I am. It took me a couple of hours of reading through the documentation before I knew how to set everything up. So stay tuned. I'm going to be putting this receiver into the Radiolink A560 3D sport plane and taking it out for a test flight after I do a range check. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in the Tinkerz Lab.